Hey, it's Michael Gilbert. Thanks for watching MotoAmerica on YouTube. Be sure to comment and subscribe.
It's the first race of the final day of the MotoAmerica Championship season 2022. We're at the MotoAmerica Superbikes at Alabama. This final weekend in September at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. Old Glory is waving in the background. It is a great day for racing. It's our final day of racing for this championship season. Rain, it tried sprinkling early this morning when the North American Talent Cup hit the track, but then things have been clearing up as the day has progressed. Taking a look at the points of this North American Talent Cup, it is Alessandro Di Mario, 230, with Jesse James Shedden only 3 points behind. I'm Robbie Floyd with Roger Hayden, and I know Roger Hayden just a moment ago was in an interview with Jesse James Shedden, and I don't think Jesse's aware of this point structure because he thought if he wins the race, he could still have DeMario in second and lose the championship. But that's not the case, Roger. You get 5 more points for a victory. If Jesse wins the title.
He just wants to win, and like he did yesterday, he kind of checked out early in the race, and I think that was his plan. I'm sure his family probably told him what the points was before he went out, just to make sure he knew. And we also seen DeMario talk about he had an issue yesterday, so maybe you can get that fixed, or if it's not fixed, could be a really big deal for him.
Yeah, DeMario said he was having a clutch issue, and you know, with that, you don't get the drive. I loved how he was like, it goes, wait. When you don't have that power, that is the worst thing as a rider, when you're giving it all the throttle and it ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, and also just for the whole race, but luckily for him, he did as good as he did with the running like that, and kind of might have saved his championship.
All right, Roger, got a lot to talk about with the North American Talent Cup. Let's take a look at some highlights of yesterday's race. The pole sitter, Jesse Shedden, he had some ground to make up as far as points were concerned. Even though he had a pretty strong Atlanta with a victory, he also didn't get points, I believe, in one of those rounds in Atlanta as well.
No, but Jesse got a great start, and you can see here he's kind of starting to pull away right away. All these guys kind of took turns to who got into second and who was going to try to bridge that gap.
You know, with the smaller displacement, these are 250cc Aprilia motorcycles. It's generally pack racing, and we saw that yesterday.
It was a big pack, especially from third on back, and toward the end it was a two-rider battle. You can see these kids just drafting each other each lap up the front straight. See Jesse James still with a little bit of a gap.
Logan Monk on the 11 working his way in the mix as well. Another guy to look for today.
And Chris Clark, now you see he's got himself in the second, and this when he starts chipping away at that lead.
Clark in the 27 closed in on Jesse Shedden, and he would eventually take over that position. He was biding his time. He took advantage. Jesse looked over and said, okay, time to follow for a bit.
Yeah, he got to follow him, and he said he got to see where, you know, he was weaker or stronger. This was the pass for the win. Jesse made this pass into turn 5 and held on.
And you saw at that moment, Clark got a little bit too wide, had a rider underneath. He dictated that left-hand turn. It was a drag race down the front straightaway, but taking the victory was Jesse Shedden over Chris Clark and Alexander Enriquez rounding out the top 3. The points leader, Alessandro Di Mario, finished 4th, not on that podium, but that was a big day for him. If that clutch was going, salvaging 4th in points, and he knows, DeMario knows that if he wins this race, he wins the championship. You couldn't really ask for more, could you, going into the final round?
No, you just want to have it in your own hands as a rider. You know, he's been so fast all week. I think he feels pretty good about it. But his competitor, his biggest rival, is going really fast as well on pole, so he's probably a little bit worried about that. And then also knowing how fast Chris Clark is, another guy that could get in there and disrupt the race a little bit. So we'll see how it plays out. And then also the pressure for these young kids to win this championship.
The pressure, the excitement, the adrenaline. These are young kids, 13 to 16 years of age. And it being the last race of the year, you might give it a little extra wingy-ding that you might not have done a few rounds ago when you were trying to play it safe. There's not much playing now. It is serious business this last race of the year. Looks like they're preparing for their warm-up lap to do the final inspection of this course. Now, I know Josh Hayes has different thoughts on how if you were a rider, you approach this warm-up lap. How did you look at this opportunity to see the track for that final time and get that bike prepared for the race?
I tried to go pretty quick to get my tires warmed up to make sure they were, really warm when the race started, to give me the confidence to go that first lap, and then also check track conditions, see if how's the grip level.
Starting grid for the North American Talent Cup. Jesse Shedden with the pole. That really means nothing, does it? I mean, you just need to be in those first 2 rows. Don't let anybody break away. But Jesse showed that he was fast enough to take that pole. So that if only for him, that's what really makes the difference, right? It gave him a little confidence.
Yeah, and I think Chris Clark has to have some confidence too. He was the only guy in the 39s in yesterday's race, so it's they didn't even qualify that quick. So for him, he's got to be feeling pretty good. You see the rest of the grid fill out there, and for these kids, you know how nervous they got to be, the last race of the year, racing in front of all these big teams and all the riders they look up to.
Yeah, Chris Clark yesterday, his best time was a 1:39.6, even though the leader, his best time was a 1:40.1. So half a second difference for the best time. Now that was probably draft aided. It was probably when he was drafting up to Jesse James, so you have a fast guy just in front of you. But that's what they're here to learn about, right? I mean, we see even some of these kids, they could be the best regional kid in, say, a sportbiketrackgear.com junior class. When they step up into MotoAmerica, it's a different world, and from regional to national level.
Yeah, you just race against all the best kids in the world. All come here to do this race, so you get to see the best.
These guys warm up their tires or get as much heat as they can in those tires. Unlike the big bikes, like say the Medallia Superbikes, we know they could use up those Dunlops if they don't make the right decision. These kids, they're not going to use that tire up. There's not enough weight. There's not enough horsepower. They've got to flow, and they need to ring those tires. They need to ring it for everything it's got.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about tire wear.
No, this is a fact. Oh, but we see our pace car back there scuffing in the tires as well. All right, Raj, right here you see some even already with the clutch in, getting ready to go. This will be an 8-lap race, the North American Talent Cup. And they're off. A great jump by Jesse Shedden on that inside. But this first turn is very important.
Very good start by Jesse. You can see even Chris Clark's now got himself up in the second. I think everybody knows what Jesse's plan is to get away, and they don't want to let that happen. And then also, you want to get away early in the race so you're not stuck in that big group drafting each other, can slow you down.
First opportunity to see turn 5 as they head into Charlotte's Web, a downhill left-hand sweeping turn. You see one pass being made going to the inside. A great passing opportunity there.
There was Enrique that's moved himself up in the second.
And you're seeing on exit a couple of different lines there. You want to keep that momentum up on these smaller bikes.
Just for sure, you see some of the guys using all the track, trying to keep that momentum up. Some kids kind of, it's almost where you enter the corner, where your line's going to be on the exit.
Not much problem for these kids as they go down into the museum turn, that right-hander. It's a spot that Josh Hayes told me he thought the most time can be made up in that particular area. It lines you up right, but for these guys, I mean, they're just pinned through all these sections. I mean, you still get in that tuck, you still get behind that fairing, and maybe get a slipstream pass, you head to the other portion of the course.
Yeah, you can see all of them are still tucked in through that chicane, trying to get in that draft, and we've seen a lot of passes yesterday through here, but we got a pretty big battle pack here at the front of this one on the first lap.
And great sights here at Barber Motorsports Park with the sounds as well. There's the turn that is one of my favorites because you just never know. You open up that door, somebody's inevitably going to be there.
And if you hug the inside too much, you kill your speed. Somebody carries it around you into the last corner.
Coming down the front straightaway, one lap is completed in this 2.38 mile course. 17 turns in total. Here for the MotoAmerica Superbikes at Alabama, it is Shedden, Enriquez, DeMario, and Chris Clark rounding out the top 4. Let's send it down to Greg Kramer with more on Chris.
Well, the big story for Chris is he came in here 7th in the points, so he's not in the championship hunt, but he could dramatically affect it, especially if his race plays out like it did yesterday. Started in 4th, but ended up 2nd. He was throwing down laps that were a second plus quicker than anybody else at the end of this one. If he gets up in the mix for that win, he could affect who ends up getting those points, and if he should win it, all of those points margins shrink a little bit the farther down the order you get, and I think DeMario is hoping that he might be able to benefit from that.
A little bit of a bobble for Clark as he went into 5 there. He's just trying to be aggressive. The 27. Roger, watch this. Clark, the third rider in your picture.
Yeah, it looks like he just got in a little bit deep there, and you can see he thought he was going to get in the rider in front of him, I think, and grabbed a little extra front brake and ran a little bit wide, but he...
Whoa, high-speed wobbles there. That rider must not have known he was there, right? He didn't quite get up next to him.
And then he got on the curb also, but
yes,
luckily for him, he got it gathered back up and didn't lose too much time.
That's our Geico save of the day so far, because you get on that curb and you saw the head shake he had on that front wheel. I'd love to see that again, and his eyes had to look like saucers. Jesse Shedden, Alexander Enriquez on the 25, got a couple of looks of this, and this was head shake, not on a smooth surface, that he was off track. Let's take a look at this.
You could just see way wide, and just got on that curve, and look at that.
I mean,
what a save.
That is huge. I mean, how fast do you think they're going there?
Also have to worry about, when that happens, separating your front brake pads going into the next corner.
And what do you say about that? You know, when you know that happens that much, you just go ahead and try some pressure in that lever.
See, as soon as he got on that curve where it was a little bit uneven, look how small those wheels are.
That was tremendous save. I mean, it's hard to put into words how close that was, and or if he would have caught right at that tarmac grass juncture, that could have been the end of his day. He's still in it. Now you got to get heart rate down, right, Roger?
Just throw down those laps like he put in yesterday. We got a 6-rider battle.
Yeah, he stayed into the last bit of that draft in that scenario. Chris Clark now into 6. But again, with this many laps to go, you can still have plenty of time as we look at the 11 of Logan Monk. He's been sitting right around that 4th spot. 25 of Alexander Enriquez. So again, as it stands right now, Jesse Shedden with the victory on the 99 would also win the championship. Alessandro DeMario, the number 7, has to get by him. As it stands right now, he cannot win the championship if he doesn't finish in front of Jesse J.
If Jesse wins.
Points as it stands right now, DeMario would lose by 2 because there is a 3-point differential. DeMario has a 3-point advantage over Shedden coming into this final race of the season. But if you're DeMario, you know what you got. It's right there in front of you. I know I need to beat that guy. I don't care if it's for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. I just got to beat the 99.
Yeah, and he's not letting him get away. He's staying right there, and might just be sizing him up, see where he's better at it, and learning. And what Jesse's doing is the hard part, doing all the heavy lifting, leading the pack, setting the pace. That's really hard. And DeMario just kind of gets to sit there, keep his heart rate down, and follow.
Size him up right there. You see him pulling out of a different line now. The track goes to the left. He's testing the waters maybe for another day.
I think he could have, if he wanted it, I think he could have had it.
Just push that envelope, because that's a scenario where you just got to put yourself in that line. You're not going to get a very good drive out. This is probably a good situation here with a little gap between 2nd and 3rd. You're not going to get a good drive out if you block past somebody, but you're worried about the guy in front of you first and foremost.
Top 2 guys, if they don't battle around too much, they might be able to make it a 2-battle race. What I would like to see is the front angle as these young riders, the front 2 coming through this fast chicane. You see how they don't even put their knee out. They just stay in the tuck.
Yeah. It's an arrow thing, right?
You see the other kids behind them are dragging their knee.
Kind of chicken winging, more drag from the air.
Well, they're kind of setting up for a corner. Those top 2 guys, they just treat it as a straightaway.
You're just leaving it in their tuck. I'm just seeing some following right now, just trying to still size up. Jesse Shedden is the 7 of Alessandro DeMario. Now we're starting to see some movement. There's Clark starting to work his way up. Thought he had a position, but Monk goes back into 5th. There's the drafts. The 27 trying to move up 1 spot. Again, he was one of the front runners.
Top 2 guys now separated themselves from that pack a little bit over a second.
You're going to see that when they're going too much side by side, not working together to close that gap. Right now, they're trying to fight for that 3rd and final spot of the podium themselves.
The last lap, you can see Jesse and DeMario, they're upping their pace. Both of them in the 39s. That's the last lap. They know the laps are winding down, and each of them pushing as hard as they can.
And yesterday we only had one rider, that was Chris Clark in the 39s. And as you mentioned, both Shedden and DeMario in the 39s. Still midway through this race, they've got a little more to give. You see a pass being made there as well. The 58 of Logan Cunnison goes to the inside. Set that up really well coming out of 5.
Yeah, really good pass. Got a good run out there. But the moved run.
Now it's going to get interesting. Now he's going the long way around.
I think he missed a gear also.
Yeah, and look at that. And once again, the 27 going to get hung out, or is he? Yes. They're caught. They're caught. No. This is going to be a save. This is not good. And that's why the air fence is there. And both of them up and running. And these two young kids, thank goodness for that Road Racing World Action Fun air fence, because that is what happens when you get hung up. And I know you turned away, Roger. That was a worst case scenario for them, but thank goodness for that air fence.
Yeah, thank Lord for that. I mean, that's just huge. That was so cool to see John Norwich get that award today for what all they do for that action fun, and the air fence is just so important.
Wow. So, and they're up, and there was nothing you could do there. And again, it was Chris Clark that kind of got stuck. And they got hung. When he got caught up, you can't get away from a rider that's going the same speed as you like that. You're on for the ride.
Just 4 wide through the chicane's not gonna work, and just a racing deal. And I think they'll probably learn from that. Maybe next time, if they're in that same spot, one of them might lift a little bit and just fall in line.
Alessandro DeMario in second place, second on the track. Let's look back here at what happened.
This is when Logan made his mistake getting into the museum corner, and this is what bunched them all up.
Yep. Yep, so the 58 having some problems, might have missed a shift. He's in outside. The 27 sees that, and Chris Clark, and he's trying to keep all that momentum, because if he lets off, that's going to give them an advantage. But right there, tried going underneath, but got caught up.
I think Chris actually got into a little bit to the person on the inside of him, and
that bumped him out to Logan Monk. Logan Monk, the other rider that goes down, and this is the same thing we've been seeing all day long, side by side. Now we're seeing the 7 go from out to in. Not going to make that pass there. I've talked to many champions, and you said it as well. You're not going to make a pass following somebody else's tracks, and that is them pushing off the bike of Jack Beaudry, having some issues as well, but walking off. Shedden and DeMario 1 and 2, but you see DeMario taking wider lines when he sees Shedden inside. You're not going to pass anybody staying in his tracks. Do something different. Maybe you'll make a mistake. Maybe you can get a good draft coming down the front straightaway, and that, again, Shedden just has just enough heading into 1.
And I'm thinking maybe DeMario just wants to not let Jesse fall and wait till the last lap and just, you know, sit there and then sneak a pass somewhere where maybe he's not expecting it.
And if you think it could be a passing scenario as far as the draft is concerned, you may want to be second at a certain portion of the track instead of being in the lead.
See, if DeMario passes him there this lap, the next lap he's going to know.
Yeah.
Jesse's going to know, don't leave the inside open.
He's there. He's there. He's looking. It's almost like cycling on a sprint race where they're just looking back instead of worrying about the track in front of them, because they know somebody's going to be knocking on the door. And just like in track cycling, that draft could play a factor. The 7, really good curb jump right there. Didn't cut across the grass. He's going to get a really good drive. Alessandro DeMario with a good drive. He looks back because he knows if I stuff him, I don't want somebody to, take advantage of that situation.
Yeah, he doesn't want to leave the door open now. He looks back and he sees it's just those two. This is for the championship.
And there's where the riders are watching what's going on. Again, Logan Monk and Chris Clark going off track as with a lap and a half to go. I don't know that Jesse's the fastest. It almost looks like Alessandro is doing what he needs to do. If Jesse's got any more, this is your last shot.
Yeah, we'll see now. Look like the last lap, DeMario can make a draft in the front straightaway and let off a little bit. So we'll see if he does it this time. Turn 1's going to be a good spot. If not there, then turn 5 would be the next spot.
Great run by DeMario. They're going to see the white flag come up, and Jesse looks over and sees him. I think the 7 got out of line a little too early. He wasn't using Shedden to cut that air.
It does seem when he pulls out, he stalls out a little bit.
Right. Absolutely. It's like a wing on an airplane, not being efficient. He's looking good there on the run. Quit looking behind, right, Raj? That drives you crazy. Here's it is. Here's a shot going into 5. stay behind as long as you can. He didn't want to.
No.
He did not want to be in the lead, or he didn't want to make that pass there.
And Jesse got in that corner really deep as well.
So if that's the case and Jesse overshoots it, he might have been able to stuff. We're going to see that straightaway. This is the last lap, heading over towards the museum turn. Jesse with a little bit of an advantage. The best advantage this time and the fastest overall in Sector 2.
Yeah, Jesse's really pulled the pin this lap, fastest sector the whole race that lap. So he knows this last lap, he doesn't want to let him close enough to try to make that draft.
If it comes down to first or second, the 7, DeMario keeps looking back. They're several seconds behind. Worry about the rider that's in front of you. That's Logan Cunnison on the 58, the 25 of Alexander Enriquez. But the 2 riders in front of him are going for the championship, as well as the race here at Barber, and they are side by side heading into the final few turns.
That 3rd sector, DeMario closed the gap back up on Jesse, so we'll see in this 4th sector if he's going to try to make a pass in this long right-hander or set himself up for a draft on the front straight.
He only has like one more right-hand turn. They're setting up to the left. DeMario on the 7, he's holding back just a little bit to get that run. He held on for too long. He's going to get in that draft. He's going to try and slingshot. We haven't seen it done the whole time, and we're not going to see it done this time. Jesse Shedden takes the victory. He's also going to take the championship and run to the line. Has Logan Cunnison by just 35 thousandths of a second for 3rd. Here's the race for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. We've got a gaggle back here. It's actually the race for 7th. Sneed and Fernandez crossing the line.
Points up for grabs, too, for all these kids.
Absolutely. The Aprilia 250, where do you want to be? If I'm the 5, I think I'm doing okay, but just behind, I think, is at the 23 of Blanchett. He's going to get a good run, a double draft maybe. Oh, was that our draft? We saw a draft in the move. He did it. So somebody was able to use that front straight as a drafting point. It looked like the 5 of Isaac Woodworth. Woodworth on the Aprilia. Jesse Shedden didn't what he needed to do. I think DeMario, I don't know if he was having issues he was looking about, trying to say, well, I need to hold on to second, because there was no reason to look back, was there?
It just looks like DeMario toward the end of the straightaway would stall out. He would be in that draft, and then he just kind of stopped, and when he pulled out, wasn't making the ground that you would expect.
And I know these are like equally prepared bikes. I'm sure I don't believe they're able to make gearing changes, but I mean, that's almost one of those looks like where you weren't geared quite right, because he never was able to pull out and try and gain an advantage. It'd give him more grunt on the bottom, but it kind of missing on the top.
Just missing, that's right. That's what it was. Just couldn't make that draft pass.
Yeah, again, I know they gave them some different things than they typically would. This North American Talent Cup is kind of a development system in the MotoGP type programs to get into the Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP throughout the day. Much like the SportBikeTrackGear.com and the Ovalis lead you into the MotoAmerica Championship Series. Now they also let them have carburation adjustments this week. So it looks like we have DeMario in second behind Jesse Shedden. By our points, it looks like if Jesse wins, he does it. But I want to remind you, I forgot, they may have a drop event. Maybe they can drop a round. So if DeMario finishes second, he might quite possibly win that championship. Yeah. That's a factor. We were looking at cumulative, but didn't look and see if they're able to drop a round. Maybe that drop round was still done it for him.
And Jesse did what he had to do, is win that race, and maybe DeMario just knew all he had to do was get second. Maybe that's why he was looking around.
Yeah, and that is what it was. Again, sorry about if that is the case. We got a text here just a moment ago. But points-wise, we knew it didn't make sense. But again, if they're able to drop a race. It's the first time we've seen the North American Talent Cup here in 2020. They did not have that last year. In our program. The Ovalis have been racing today as well in the Moto Mini Cup. Jesse Shedden graduated from those mini Ovalis to these bikes. As he said, he wants to go over to Europe and hit the CIV. What do you think about that? If you had to do it all over again, Roger? I mean, we've seen riders do this before. There's DeMario. He's burning that tire up like he won the championships. I'm assuming he got that drop.
Oh, he knows.
If you'd had to do it all over again, would you have still done it the same way? Would you have still test your skills in dirt track and all the American side, or would you have kind of spent a little more time over there across the pond?
No, I think I would have did it the way I did it.
Yeah. It's revisionist history, so I'm just wondering. So evidently we've been told that DeMario will win the championship because they overturned his jump start penalty from yesterday. So that was it. He actually, I'm really not sure what that was all about. He was actually able to gain a position. He knew what was up. Look at the size difference, Raj.
Oh, Logan's a little fella. We kind of got the same hairdo going.
A couple of them have your hairdo. Alexander Enriquez especially. Let's send it back down to Greg Kramer.
Well, thanks very much. I'll tell you, the celebration's going on here, and what we just found confirms what you guys were just saying. When he finished originally fourth yesterday, Alessandro DeMario looked like in this race he was going to lose it by a very small amount, but they had overturned that jump start penalty, so he actually got third. Your second place finish gives you the title by 1 point, and you had to overcome a clutch problem yesterday. This has been a character building weekend, and you saw yourself through it, and you're a champ, man. Congratulations.
Man, that was crazy. The first laps, we did like a 39.6. We were going crazy fast. I was looking back, and I couldn't see anybody. And then I wanted to stay behind Jesse. I didn't want to pass him. I just wanted to finish the race like that because I didn't want to take any risks. Then I saw he was slowing down. He was slowing down even more. And I was like, does he want me to pass or not? But then I didn't pass him because, like, why would I anyways? Yeah, finished for, second, and I got the title.
Well, you did exactly what you had to do. You played the game plan out beautifully. How do you dig deep after a problem like yesterday when you know you had the speed, but you had that clutch issue to not let it get to you? Just put your head down, execute a game plan like that to perfection.
So yesterday was pretty tough, but I knew the clutch was making me a lot slower, so I was pretty confident about today's race. Just push. When I saw I was second, I had a gap. I just wanted to keep the second place and win the championship.
Well, I tell you what, he did what he had to do, obviously, and he knew what he had to do. He knew where he was in the points even before we did. Congratulations, second place in the race, folks. But your champion, North American Talent Cup for 2022, Alessandro DeMario. What a great, great run for him. And got to be proud of what he did here. Going to come on over here now to Jesse James Shedden. And Jesse, I mean, you rode two stunning races this weekend, qualified incredibly well. 1 point. I know you're gutted by this, but man, you swept the doubleheader here at Barber. You delivered some messages of your own here. I know it hurts a little bit, but you got to be proud of what you did here this weekend, man.
Yeah, definitely a little heartbroken because of that, but gotta keep my chin up, be happy, look to the future. It was a good race. I was hoping Alex would get up in there and help me a little bit, but he backed off a little bit, so I was trying to slow down and see if he could catch up into the draft. But that last lap, I didn't want to risk losing my position, had to get moving again.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a good plan to back him up just a little bit, see if you get somebody up in there. But, as I said, congratulations, sweeping the weekend here at Barber with pole, 2 wins. Well done. Great momentum going into the offseason and setting up for next year.
Thank you.
Jesse James Shedden, folks, just a great, great job. And even though he ended up, he wasn't in the championship hunt, Logan, you started with a 5th place finish yesterday. You're in the box here, man. Absolutely great run. What did you do differently from yesterday to today to make that change and be able to run 2 positions higher?
We were just having a lot of bike issues, like the triple stem was very loose, the gearing was wrong. And I'm just very happy that we got it fixed, and I'm up here now.
Yeah, and as you said, not only a top 5, but today on the box at the season finale. Got to be delighted with that. How important is it to you in the last race of the season to be up on the podium?
Very.
Very. He's a man of few words, but he does the job on the track. You remember when we asked him earlier, when Roger asked him during the break, what's your plan for today? He said, win. Gotta like that. Well done. Again, your top 3, folks. What a great race. What a great season. In 3rd, Logan Gunnison. In the 2nd spot, Alessandro DeMario, your new champion, and your double winner on the weekend, Jesse Shedden.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights of the North American Talent Cup. Logan's fun, is he? Did you do good? Yep.
Short and sweet. Jesse James with a great start, just like he did yesterday.
And you question whether he was trying to back him up a little bit. He said he was. I mean, he needed some help.
That's a smart move by Jesse to do that. For a young kid to think like that when he's out there riding. But look at him, he's just doing what he can, trying to get that good start. We was wondering why he was looking back, and that's why he was looking back to see if he could punch up the curve.
Yeah, he needed that one rider in between. Jesse did. He was hoping Logan Cunnison, crew. That was a high-speed wobble save by the 27 of Chris Clark. Couldn't save it a little bit later, though. He worked back into that pack, and it was tight. I mean, it was too tight.
Yeah, these kids were going back and forth today. You just see them drafting each other every lap in the museum corner. Logan Cunnison making a really good pass. Through the chicane there, they tried to go 4 wide, didn't work out. Luckily, both riders were okay.
Yeah, and even low siding it like that, throwing it out, because that's what you're taught to do when you go on that low side. You don't want to get chucked. Trying to save it. The collarbone, I don't know how it hung on there, but look at that. And another wreck. That's the one we didn't see earlier. I think it was Jack Beaudry, right? And coming to the stripe, looking for a little extra was Alessandro DeMario. He didn't need more for the championship, but you know he wanted that win. And to the stripe, Logan Cunnison able to take 3rd and the final spot on that podium. There's your champion for 2022, the North American Talent Cup, Alessandro DeMario.
Great weekend by Jesse James, Jesse Shedden.
Yeah, gotta go. You gotta drop to James.
Yeah, he
yeah. Hey, you've been there.
Yeah,
Roger Lee.
He won both races and set the pace. He learned a lot about race strategy and didn't win the title, but you know what? It's going to make him hungrier.
Yeah, you still put that that trophy up on the mantle because that battle won you the war. There's your podium for the North American Talent Cup here at Barber. Stick with us. We got more ahead on MotoAmerica Plus here at Barber Motorsports Park.